Glad to hear you back among the living.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of illness going around, and it caught my voice, so I don't have much of a voice. But today, unbelievable, Michael McKibben and his researchers have discovered the direct link between the most powerful institution for mind control that was ever created, that is still operative to this day, and is directly connected to the British Privy Council. But those same people have now come over to Facebook. And that caused Michael and his researchers to take a close look at the situation. And oh my goodness, we have a very powerful show for you today. I hope I won't be speaking much. But Michael's going to tell us this astounding research that he has done. And I think it's going to open your eyes. So Michael, lay it on him.
Yes. Well, this, I think we overuse the word bombshell with a lot of these revelations, but this information came into our researchers from the UK. This is thanks to continued digging by a group of genealogists in England that heard and read about Richard B. Allen, the British lord that appeared in London when Zuckerberg was a no-show. This Richard Allen is the vice president of public policy for Europe for Facebook, and so Zuckerberg was called before a council of European ministers to answer questions on privacy, and he didn't show up, and Richard Allen showed up. Now, Richard Allen was a name that we weren't familiar with, who apparently has been at Facebook for a number of years, I think since about 2010, if my memory is correct, and he has operated behind the scenes until he appeared about 10 days ago in London. And so our researchers started looking at his background and discovered a number of important pieces of information. But the information that was just provided to our group in the last 24 hours is mind-blowing. We would have never expected it, couldn't have predicted it, but I will bottom line it. It appears that the Tavistock Institute has moved Richard Allen and Sir Nick Clegg into Facebook to take over. The Tavistock Institute out of London, the mind control people, the human experiments people, the people that recruited German scientists involved with brainwashing and continued those programs in the rogue CIA. That's the group we're talking about out of London. It's now we now see direct connections between Lord Richard Allen and the Tavistock Institute. So I don't know how to describe the details here except to say that we did notice out of the chute that Lord Richard Allen did not disclose who his parents were in any of his public biographies. And in fact, the only reference we could find to his parents were that his father was a chauffeur in the Sheffield area and his mother was a personnel manager in the Sheffield area. And that's all we had to go on, and that was written in a parliamentary archive book. But now it appears from this new information dug up by these genealogists that, in fact, Lord Richard Allen did not have a humble family background, but rather, as the genealogists said, his father and grandfather all lived in houses with servants. That was the way they described the background. And what we've also learned the name of his live-in partner now, who is the mother of his twin daughters that they had in 2006, which I'll get to in a minute because it is pertinent to this issue of the Tavistock Institute. but the parentage, it looks like all four of Alan's grandparents were upper-class Brits. His father, who was identified as a chauffeur, actually attended the elitist college known as Haileybury College, which was founded by one of your favorite companies, Douglas, the British East India Company. And its graduates...
Oh, my goodness. You mean Corruption Are Us?
Yeah.
The British?
Mm-hmm.
You're kidding.
No, his father attended Haileybury College, where Clement Attlee, the Prime Minister after Churchill, attended, where Rudyard Kipling attended, and somebody more infamous to us who are familiar with population control issues, Thomas Malthus, attended this school. And then Attlee, the Prime Minister after Churchill, founded the National Health Service in the UK, which is where Richard Allen worked for 6 years. It looks like Allen's father had one brother who's deceased and one sister who we can't discover her name. But now we get into some more interesting heritage in his grandfather. His grandfather lived in an exclusive area of London called Cartwright Gardens, which is literally a 5-minute walk from the Tavistock house. And as we know, the Tavistock is the progenitor of the CIA MK Ultra mass brainwashing, mind control research that continues to this day, and as we know now is used by the mainstream media in the U.S., plus in the social networking world. So it appears that his father was somehow involved with the war effort in Tavistock, and actually probably worked or may have worked at the War Office at the Tavistock Institute. And this would explain why Lord Richard Allen did not explain his parentage, because of the association with Tavistock. Now, we then were able to determine more information about his current partner, who I presume they're not married, because he referred to her as a partner and not a wife. But in 2006, in September, they had twins, and the woman's name is Dr. Anna Padilla Yargstorf, and we now have the birth certificates for those two girls, and they are listed on the British registry as Alicia Sophia Allen Padilla and Eleni Carla Allen Padilla. And as you can tell from the name, Dr. Anna Padilla is Spanish. And she has a very extensive LinkedIn resume that's quite useful. It saved a lot of time because she was pretty detailed about it. But it is clear from this resume, which, by the way, will be up. Betsy confirmed with me that she will put this new timeline up with this new information, that Dr. Anna Padilla, I'm not sure what her doctorate is in, because her resume does not discuss a PhD program or a medical program. She attended several universities, one in Spain and one in East Anglia, and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences. And it doesn't appear that she went on for more education, but she may have, because she identifies herself as a doctor, Dr. Anna Padilla Yargstorf. So she's got some German background too. But looking at her resume, she was quite involved with the British Parliament from 1999 up through the end of Lord Richard Allen and Nick Clegg's tenure there, representing the Sheffield area. And she was in research related to biological sciences and psychology, and was involved she was involved with the British Psychological Society and also with Wellcome Trust, which is a national pharmaceutical company in Britain, well known, where she was a scientific advisor for bioethics programs. And then we have also her involvement with a group called the International DSM-5 Response Committee, and she did that for over a year. And that particular group was advocating a redefinition of mental health categories and essentially lowering the standards that would define mental health problems. And that program has gotten a lot of pushback from the psychological community, thankfully, because it's pretty frightening to see the low standard they were going to create. And as an anecdotal piece of information, I heard on the radio the other day that some psychologists are identifying 1 in 5 children today as having mental health issues in our schools, which I find quite appalling that children would be labeled that way. But more specifically, recently, we didn't see any direct connections with Allen's name and Padilla's name on it, other than the birth certificates for the girls, until this researcher in England discovered that in 2017, right before, he appeared on November 27, 2018. A year earlier, he was made a shareholder of an organization, a company called Unplugged Limited, which we don't know it to this day what they do, but it was a company that was formed by Dr. Padilla, and then on February 27, 2018, Lord Richard Allen was awarded shares in this company. So there we have a direct official record showing their connection and association with this company. So there you have it. And there's a lot more detail there, but the frightening thing here is to realize that there is this multi-generational association of Allen's family with the Tavistock Institute, and a very clear association with his current wife with the subject matter of the Tavistock Institute, which would involve pharmaceuticals, it would involve psychological control, and the use of electronic systems. And tellingly, one of the people that posted on Richard Allen's blog when they had the baby was a gentleman by the name of Nick Ferrier, who to this day is the chief architect of digital and global markets for HSBC. So there's clearly a friendship there. So what we have is, we thought perhaps that he was an acute cardboard cutout put in front of Facebook to carry on the agenda of the groups controlling him, but it now appears that he is from a multi-generational family associated with Tavistock Institute, as most likely Sir Nick Clegg is as well. So the conclusion we're drawing, and again, it's our opinion, that what we're seeing here in the movement of two high-ranking British elites into the management of Facebook, what we're seeing is the Tavistock Institute moving in to take control of their creation. That's what we think we're seeing.
I hope everyone understands Facebook was created as a weaponized psychological operation based upon the very things that Tavistock teaches. Yes. I mean, all you have to do is Google the Tavistock Institute, and you will see their long and checkered history with mind control, their close association with German researchers and psychologists who were very successful at the mind control program in Germany.
who then were imported into the Tavistock Institute, and we now have known for a long time, thanks to the various congressional committees like the Church Commission, that the Tavistock research has been used to develop the rogue CIA's devastating mind control programs that have been used quite widely on all of us our whole lives. So it's quite understandable that we've got this Trump derangement syndrome, because we've been so brainwashed we can't handle the truth.
And that type of subliminal programming started off in 1969. And then it went into every single commercial. And then it went into politics. And then they did exactly what Jeffrey Patty and Lord Malloch Brown do in many, many other countries, which is manipulate the votes through mind control, through behavioral modification, and basically they advertise they can change the mind of anybody with literally one or two sentences, and they've demonstrated that that's true.
Yeah, that's the simplicity of this that I think most people, I never considered. I always thought it would be some complicated process. But like you're saying, it could be just a few words. I remember, just some of the crazy commercials that we used to see as kids. Winston tastes good like a cigarette should. Everybody knows that. I wish I were an Oscar Mayer wiener. They tested all those on us, where they realized, and I saw recently one CIA mind control person said, how do you know, a question, how do you know when your program has been successful? And his answer was simple. He said, when the public believes the lie. I mean, how many believe the lie still that Zuckerberg created Facebook? Probably the majority.
The only ones who don't know.
One movie.
The only
one
ones who
movie
don't believe
and one
that.
book.
That's
is all it took.
You're the only person telling the truth about Zuckerberg. Thank you.
You're welcome. But it seems like more people are aware now. So the frightening thing here is, and I think the call to arms here, is that the heavy guns have moved in from the Tavistock Institute to take control of their creation. That our infrastructure in our government is completely under their control, or they are cooperating so closely that they are the same group of people, which would include the State Department, the CIA, the NSA, maybe the DIA, most of our intelligence operations. And of course they all did it with the at the time after World War II, it was to fight the Soviets. Soviets were a convenient enemy, so you could get unlimited funds to pursue these programs. But what we did not know and did not assume was that they were turning those programs on us, and we were the experiment for years and years and years. And then they learned how far they can take it with Facebook. And now, in order not for Facebook not to go down, it appears that Tavistock has got to come in and do damage control and attempt to save their platform, which they have found to be extremely successful at getting the public to believe whatever lie they want to tell.
They're professionals. They learned it from the Germans. The Germans learned it from the Jesuits. You just can't have a better lineage of evil than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's this all came thanks to a group of very dedicated researchers in the UK who picked up on the research that our people had done and carried it on. And I think this is the kind of cooperation we need across the planet to stop these people from their evil schemes.
I suggest a moratorium on killer technology, on dangerous technology that is killing us, folks. 5G is going to go in place, and when it does, that's the end of all female eggs in ovaries in America. Who doesn't understand that yet? And by the way, Waymo, It's Waymo can't work without 5G. So if Waymo's operating in your area, you already have 5G.
Yeah. Well, that's the part of this platform that makes it very difficult for them to shift to something else, and why they need to save Facebook. Because Facebook, of all the platforms, Facebook, with the exception of Google search, is the most ubiquitous platform on the planet, and you can hang literally billions and billions of little drone connections off of the end of the Facebook platform, and it can all grab the data from all of those devices and all of those Alexa systems and all of those illegal microphones they turned on and are recording your conversations. All that can be collected in everybody's social credit profiles, and then that same system can then be turned around and pushed and target individual messages or techniques or weapons back at that person, and so they can customize the weapon down to the individual person. That's the scary part of this. And it appears that Tavistock is going to make sure that they enable their ability to do this.
No, don't be worried. The CEO of Facebook just said they don't collect any information and sell it to anybody. Even though Brad Parscale said that he went online and paid $5.42 for the entire profile of every person he wanted. And then, just as you said, it's not just surveillance, it's not collection, it's targeting and attacking. So a lot of people have been messed up by these systems, and you may think that it was a psychological disorder, physical disorder. Here's what happens. The longer you stay on the internet, the less empathy you have. And the more likely you're going to be depressed and even suicidal when you're especially a young person. So these evil cyber tech, uncontrolled, immoral technologies, we need to put a moratorium on them and find out whether or not they're going to be the AI coming after us humans.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Zuckerberg's speechwriter, way back, I'm trying to look up the date here, wrote a book called The Boy Kings. And in that, she wrote it after she left Zuckerberg's employ. And in it, she disclosed that Facebook is building dark profiles. And those dark profiles mean that everyone on the planet is profiled in Facebook, whether you're on Facebook or not. So they're using this as their primary data collection tool for everything, for devices, for your social comments, for your phone calls. It is a universal storage system that is now being attached to the social credit system, and that's nothing more than an algorithm using that's mining this data, and then that becomes another number in your social profile that will then determine very quickly whether you can buy and sell. So all they got to do is take that number that's created out of your dark profile and associate that with your credit card, and then say, here's the scale. If they're this number, this is their level of authority. If they're this number, there's this level of authority. And if it's too low, they can actually block you from getting to your own money in your bank account. And that can happen now within weeks or months.
Well, when you step into a Waymo, they don't have to take you where you want it to take you. They can take you wherever they want. They can lock the doors.
Well, that's happening to the UGRs right now in northwestern China.
Tell them about Dragonfly.
Yep, they're they're taking them in the cars, they're locking the door, and they're taking them right to the camps.
And Eric Spit came back and said, I didn't do anything over there. Dragonfly's not even going to be ready for a couple years. While he was there, 750,000 Uyghurs died with his program, and then they put 1 million spies in the homes of the other Uyghurs, and then they've also collected up a whole bunch more of them and put them in re-education camp. And then they tell them it's vocational training, but 3/4 of them die while being vocationally trained. That must be a heck of a vocation.
Well, they've learned that they can create a whole, what I call a euphemistic vocabulary, to describe very heinous activities as something that sounds very innocuous. And most people will listen to that and say, oh, well, there's nothing wrong with that, when in fact it's either the opposite or it means it has a double meaning. I'm trying to think of an example right now.
Well, doublespeak.
Well, you just
Hillary Clinton is a good person. There you have it. Doublespeak. But because they've said it 10 billion times on every single TV, people believe Hillary's a good person. I guess that's because they're brainwashed through the media.
Yeah, I see. When I go to the Y, CNN's always on, and one of the things they have are certain segments that they play every night, and every night with this one guy, I can't remember which one it is. It's Trump's mess. White House in disarray, just over and over and over again, ad nauseum. And so most people are just watching the headlines. They're not actually listening. And so for people who aren't discerning, they think, well, maybe there is a mess. Oh, difficulty finding replacements for
You mean trouble replacing John Kelly?
John Kelly. I'm sorry, John Kelly. Yeah, he's having trouble finding people willing to replace John Kelly.
I understand that Betsy Ross is available because she'd put everybody in order.
Hey, don't talk for me now.
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you, Betsy. Come on now, get in here and say something about Waymo.
Look, the reason that Douglas is kind of puny sounding today is because he has a bit of laryngitis. But this is a very exciting topic that you're bringing to us, Michael, because really what you're talking about are the unholy alliance of Facebook, which will also include Google, and the Tavistock Institute, with all of our listeners know the evils of Tavistock. And they're bringing all of this together, and it's not a surprise that this all rolls back to the Brits, because it is the British, as we have disclosed through our reports, that are behind the overthrow of Donald Trump and of America. I mean, isn't that what this is?
Yes, it's very clear. We're not protecting our backside right now. We're letting these people just walk right in and do whatever they want.
So I want to know when we're going to put sanctions on the United Kingdom for attacking America in cyberspace.
Right. Well, there's clearly a clear and present danger right now.
I am looking forward.
We've got two very senior Brits associated with the Tavistock Institute taking over Facebook.
Brilliant research on your
clear.
part. Brilliant research on your part, Michael, and your people and your genealogists in Britain.
Well, a lot of people involved, and they are just blown away.
Well, then the next person that comes to mind that we need to check the genealogy of, and we call all genealogists out there to help us, is who is Richard C. Walker. He is the holder of the patent of the Internet of Things, and we can't really find his pedigree.
Well, we've gotten part of the way, but then you called us off on these other projects. We now see there are two Richard C. Walkers. As is typical of these people, they create a confusion there. So if you've got to dig very deep into the patent records and read them very slowly to recognize that there are two Richard C. Walkers. There's a Richard Clark Walker and there's a Richard Clayton Walker. And Richard Clayton Walker is the engineer from Hewlett-Packard whose name is on something like 45 or 50 of the Internet of Things patents that deal with a lot of these devices that we're talking about with 5G and other things like that. And then there's a Richard Clayton Walker that holds what we have called the Richard C. patent, Internet of Things patent, which is the massive patent for aggressive remote control of all things. And that's a different person. Now, the thing that blew us away on this particular research, as we started digging, and actually people made phone calls, visits, went into archive records, historical records, birth records, and discovered, get this, that patent is held by a company called Klein and Walker LLC. All of that family of patents is held by that, and the part that really became telling is the address for that patent was about a mile and a half from James P. Chandler III's house. So I think it was you, Betsy, who first instinctively said, "Well, is Walker is Chandler Walker?" And I think there is a good possibility that he is Walker, and that Walker's a cardboard cutout.
Right, because Walker holds so many patents, and I can't believe that James P. Chandler would let someone hold that many important patents without his sticky hands all over it.
Right. That's what it appears, and it appears that he probably chose, this is my speculation right now, that he probably chose that name because of the other Richard C. Walker that was HP, which he would have known about because of his inventions with HP and then Agilent, and that was all directed by the Highlands Group, all of that effort to begin building the Internet of Things. And he would have known that, but by taking the same name and assigning this other platform patent to it, it would have confused people, and most people wouldn't have taken the time to dig into it. And so, to this day, it appears that he's the holder of that, and that the other Richard C. Walker has all the devices that attach to it. But between them, they control the whole process.
Well, the Internet, DARPANet, is nothing more than a military experiment gone crazy. It's a PSYOPs weapon now, and they can make you, basically by just looking at your screen, you won't even see it, they can implant thoughts in your head. So what they can do is they can fund the Miller Act, pay Leader Technology, and then seize these RICOs, seize these monopolies. Nobody, no person, no we the people ever said that we would give money to make Dude Zuckerberg who he is, or Bezos, or Eric Schmidt. People don't know. The government has poured money into those companies. So now it's fraud. So they just seized them, turned them into a public utility, put people like you in charge of sections of it, and go forward.
Well, I think that that is a good idea. There's a group of people out there that can come up with a moral system, a constitutional system, and a system that protects people's privacy properly. And it still handles law enforcement issues when they arise on a public platform like this, but it needs to be done legally, not this in-secret FISA court rubber stamp from John Roberts. That's all a joke. That was just designed to fool us into thinking we were seeing justice carried out. So, yeah, there's enough cash in the Miller Act Institute to also fund the wall, by the way.
That's funny.
So
that's beautiful.
Let's get on with it, Mr. President.
There's enough money in Pelosi's purse to fund the wall. So, Michael, your researchers have gone over the top again. But you know what? I want them to find somebody who's not British so that we will realize that, it is the Brits aren't the source of all evil. They took it from the Vatican, and the Vatican took it from the Romans. So can't we find... No, it doesn't seem like we can. Seems like the Brits are basically behavioral modification for any of their 54 Commonwealth nations, and they think we're one of them. So they're just simply controlling their populace. And what we find out now is the number one control method, they've sent two of their top people, a deputy prime minister, to come run Facebook. That's stupid, folks. That's stupid. Oh, it's not stupid if you understand what we just said.
Right.
Representatives of Tavistock have basically been feeding mind control psyops to Facebook from the beginning.
Right. And now it seems that they're not even hiding it anymore. By putting these people on top, they are thinking they've got it done, it seems to me. Or that our government is not going to be able to stop them. But so I hope that President Trump understands what is happening right now and realizing this can't be put off any longer. There's got to be action. There's got to be RICO, racketeering, fraud action taken immediately. Otherwise, the mechanism called Facebook is going to continue to implement this Tavistock mind control activity until the point where we won't be able to recover. And that's what I don't want to see happen.
Well, I hope they seize it, exactly as you said, because there's already been billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars in sanctions, in tax evasion cases against Facebook and Google. And what do? They go to another country where they offer them, tax deferment, and then they think they don't have to pay anybody any taxes. But what they didn't account for is George Soros, who told all the other countries in the European Union to charge them a tax and to bring the exact same lawsuits of security violations against Facebook. If we would do that in America, we would need to charge them $100 billion, and they would collapse. Matter of fact, once we found that they owed us that, we would just seize the company. Because let me tell you something about Facebook. It is a lie that they make money. It is a lie They make money off of ads. Complete nonsense. They make money from the United States government making them a monopoly. That's what is going on. And why do you think there's only one company that has that one specific task that they stole from Leader Technologies, the IBM Eclipse Foundation, and then that one function, nobody messes with that person. They get a monopoly. So we want to end that monopoly because they are directly connected to PSYOPs, and they've weaponized all these different platforms. We need to have a moratorium, pull back, analyze them, seize the